she's a...
And they're just standing right in front of each other. That right hand.
All right, so we're going to make a little bit of an initial analysis, is what I like to call it, between Crawford and Spence. You know, I'm glad the fight got made. I think it's a little too late to be what it could have been a few years, 2, 3, 4 years ago even. But it's still a great fight. It's still for Undisputed. I mean, and it makes the boxing fans happy. So I'm not going to complain about it, and I am still excited for it. I think I was talking to another YouTuber today, and they were like, the excitement hasn't set in for me yet. And he said, but maybe it will as we approach the fight. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen to a lot of fans, given the fact that maybe we should have gotten, well, not maybe, we definitely should have gotten this fight a couple of times already. So, there's a couple things I wanted to take a look at before I made this video. And one of them is their dimensions, okay? Now, Spence is a little bit taller. Crawford has a 2-inch reach advantage. They're both natural southpaws, which is going to make this a very awkward type of fight. Okay, now, I think Spence actually is the more durable of the two. Or at least he would have been back if they had fought a couple years ago. Now I'm not so sure. Given the fact with this car accident, his eye injury, and all that other kind of stuff. So I want to point something out right now, and that is that Errol Spence has only had one fight since 2020, okay? He fought Sean Porter in his first unification fight, in a fight that really could have gone either way. I think he got bailed out of trouble when he dropped Porter late, right? Then he had the car accident a couple weeks later, was out of the ring for over a year. He fought Danny Garcia in a semi-competitive decision a little over a year after that. Then he was supposed to fight Pacquiao, got the eye injury, and was out of the ring until April of last year when he fought Yordenis Ugas. So the man has literally only had one fight in 3 calendar years, people. All right? And that's not to mention all the injury, the car accident, all that other type of stuff. Now, if you put all that away, I would have said Spence is the more durable of the two. I still think he probably has the better chin of the two. And the reason I say that is because we have seen we've seen Spence get hurt by Porter, by Ugas, we saw him get hurt early in his career too. So I'm not saying Spence is invulnerable to being hurt, but with Crawford, we saw him get his bell rung really bad against Yuriorkis Gamboa, and that was at lightweight. We saw him Crawford get dropped by Kavalauskas. So I definitely do think Spence has the better chin of the two. He's a little bit more durable of the two. Now, that brings me to my other point of reference. Their styles of fighting, okay? Now, Crawford, they're roughly the same height. And Crawford actually has a 2-inch reach advantage. But you guys got to remember, Spence is a much bigger dude. He's not much bigger, but he's bigger, okay? This is a guy who's been a career welterweight that actually started off as a 154-pounder and probably should have been fighting at 154 pounds some odd years ago, right? Crawford started off as a lightweight, a big lightweight, but a lightweight nonetheless. So they're about the same height. Crawford's got a little reach, but when it comes fighting, I do think Crawford will be the slightly bigger man of the two, all right? Now, I'm going to say this, man. I think that the hand speed goes to Crawford. I think the elusiveness goes to Crawford. I think the footwork goes to Crawford. I think Crawford's the harder puncher of the two. This was the last. Errol Spence hadn't stopped Ugas here, and before that, he hadn't stopped anybody since Ocampo in 2018. Crawford, on the other hand, has knocked out 10 opponents consecutively. The last guy that went the distance with, and this was maybe a premature stoppage here with Ugas. The last guy that went the distance with Terrence Crawford was Victor Postal in 2016, people. So I definitely believe that Crawford is the harder puncher of the two. I don't think that's much of a debate, to be honest with you. I'm not saying that Spence can't punch, because he can, but I definitely give Crawford the power edge there. Like I say, I think I give Crawford the boxing abilities. I think he's got the power. I think he's got the hand speed. I think he's more elusive than Errol Spence. So a lot of stuff does swing into Bud's favor in this fight, and I think people are forgetting about that. Not to mention, Errol Spence has only had one, again, he's only had one fight since 2020, people. Now, Crawford, like I say, he hasn't been the most active guy in the world either. He's only fought once a year for the past 3 years against Brooks, Porter, and last year against Avanesian. So he hasn't been incredibly active either. But again, Spence has only fought once in the past 3 years, people. And I do think Crawford's the harder puncher. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's more elusive. He's more crafty. He's got the better tricks. He's got more tricks up his sleeve. He's got the hand speed over Spence. Now, with that said, I think Spence is durable enough and tough enough to choose through some of that. But where I feel this fight is going to get interesting, because I think, I'm not going to give you my prediction tonight, but where I feel this fight is really going to get interesting is in the middle rounds. Because I think, personally, that Spence is going to build an early lead. I think he's going to win the first 2 or 3 rounds off the jab and the body work, okay? But then Crawford is going to make the adjustment, and he's going to start nailing Spence with some hard counter shots. And again, I think Crawford is the hardest puncher that Spence has ever fought. I understand Spence is durable, but I don't think he's fought anybody that can punch like Crawford can. I don't. And I do think, like I say, I do think Spence is going to get off to an early start. He's going to win the first couple of 2-3 rounds off the jab, get some good body shots in there, etc., so forth. But somewhere in the early mid rounds, 4, 5, 6 there, 3, 4, 5, Crawford's going to make the adjustment. He's going to find his range. He's going to find his distance. And he's going to start lacing Spence with hard counter shots. And at that point, I think the fight's going to turn into a free-for-all, okay? I think it's still a very, very difficult fight to predict, guys. It's a very hard. Even though this fight is past its expiration date, a few years past its expiration date, but it's still a very, very tough fight to call, man. But that's really where I see things heating up. Now, I also want to say this. I think that Bud is going to have to overperform a little bit because of the fact that it's on Showtime and PBC. And with all the shit talking that Crawford's had going on with Heyman and the PBC and Spence over the last handful of years, I do think the judges are going to be a little bit more favorable to Spence. So these are all things just to kind of consider. Like I say, this is kind of a rough summary prediction video, but I'm going to tell you right now, guys, after the first couple rounds go by and Crawford makes the adjustments and knows his distance to where he needs to be to hit Spence with them hard counter punches, This fight is going to get very, very, very interesting, people. So we'll see what happens, man. But it is set for real this time. And like I say, it doesn't excite me as much as it would have a few years back. But it's still a very, very good fight. It's an undisputed legacy fight between two undefeated welterweights. And you know, and it's a history fight, guys. It's still a history fight. Not as meaningful as it once was, but still a very, very meaningful fight, not only for the welterweight division, but for boxing in general, guys. So that's my initial analysis of Crawford Spence. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. God bless you all, and if you're feeling frosty, donate to the Cash App down below. God bless and have a nice evening, everyone.